and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus that thinks you're amazing. No, you're amazing. No, you're amazing. Oh, well, you're amazing. Anyways, that's right, we're talking about The Challenge World Championship Episode 3, and whoa, is it getting a little dim in here? I think that might be from all the foreshadowing that we got from this past week's episode. We had so many conversations. Like, this video is going to be 95% conversations that happened in this episode because that was the nature of this episode. There was so much buildup, so much setup for future episodes that really the only action that we got in this episode was towards the end with the elimination and a little bit of the aftermath after the decisions that were made and after the elimination was wrapped up. So bear with me. We start off where last episode left off. We saw the conversation between Jonna and Kellyanne, self-described best friends, and Jonna is kind of keeping her options open, and Kellyanne isn't a huge fan of that. Then we see a conversation this episode with Jonna talking to Wes about not knowing exactly who to send in. Like, she says both Kellyanne and Jody need to go at some point, but she needs to know what to do and the best decision to make now. And Wes tries to advise Jonna, saying, hey, you should probably just throw in Jody and Benha if it's going to be that much of a difficult decision for you. But Jonna still doesn't know exactly what to do. We get a conversation between Kellyanne and Tristan, and Kellyanne is kind of perturbed that Jonna isn't just flat out telling her that y'all are safe. You're my best friend in the house and in this game. We have a friendship outside the house, and Kellyanne wants that reassurance right away. Now, Tristan tries to make Kellyanne feel better by saying, yes, Jonna is your friend, and yes, you would like that reassurance right away, that guarantee that we are safe. But even with the unknown at this moment, there's nothing really else for us to do. Just go about our business, have the conversations with everybody, try to save ourselves, but don't try to worry about it too much, as she is still your friend. And she hasn't told you that you're definitely going into elimination. There's time, you know? We get a conversation between Grant, Kiki, and Emily, where Grant has no idea what to do. He actually would rather throw in Kellyanne and Tristan, but he's leaving it up to Jonna, as she is the vet, she knows the politics, she knows strategy, she has won the game before. Grant is putting all of his trust in Jonna, and then we get a little bit of insight of Emily and Ryan's relationship. They met on the Challenge Australia during their season. Once they both were eliminated, spoiler alert, they both were eliminated, they decided to take a holiday with each other, a vacation. They got cowboy boots in Vegas, and then they moved in with each other. So it sounds like everything is going pretty well for them. We get a conversation between Jody and Benha, who believe that they have a real good shot of not going into elimination. Then they say that each other is amazing, that they're fortunate to have a partner like each other. It gets a little awkward. It gets a little cringeworthy. Then we have a conversation between Tori, Danny, and Ben about why the vets haven't talked much game up to this point. With not knowing how the game was going to be formatted, that it was a pair season, solo season, or whatever, that they didn't want to make too many deals right off the bat because you never know what the game could be or what the rules would entail, to the point where you might be backstabbing somebody and that could put a huge target on your back early in the game. Something interesting Tori says is she name drops Jordan, Wes, and Casey. So I assume she just outed an alliance of those 4 players, herself, Jordan, Wes, and Casey. Granted, she said that to her partner Danny and a fellow US competitor in Ben, who is partnered up with Casey, but I thought that that was super telling. Like, I understand that you believe you can trust them, but really we're only in episode 3 and this is the first elimination featuring vet, and I just thought that that was super telling early on, that Tori was just name dropping people that she is very close with in this game. The next morning, Ben is cleaning. Super important to see in an episode. At least we know who's cleaning the house. That's definitely something important we definitely needed in this 45 minutes. After the cleaning, we see Kellyanne talking to Ben, and Kellyanne is still kind of nervous about what Jonna will do. We have a conversation between Rodrigo, Kaz, and Theo about whether people can be friends with their exes. Kaz and Theo do mention that they are on good terms after not talking for 2 years after their breakup, but being in the house, they are playing well with each other and they are being cordial with one another. Tori, we see, give Jordan a butt massage, and This is where we have the building blocks of Danny clocking relationships, taking notes on who's very close with whom, who's partnered with whom, and he's nervous that these prior history and prior relationships that players have, the vets have with each other, the legends have with each other, that this could be something that really complicates the game, especially for the global MVPs. You know, will the MTV legends be able to put their relationships to the side to make the hard decisions when it comes down to it? It's very interesting to think about because I think Danny is coming at it from a Survivor type of mindset where in a game like Survivor, people are willing to vote out somebody who they are very strong and connected with and who they have played the game with from even day one if it benefits their game and helps them get to the end and gives them a better chance of winning, where Tori is coming at it from the mindset of an MTV challenger who has done many seasons with a lot of these people and who has very strong connections with them that she's thinking not only of this season, but prior seasons and maybe even future seasons. So I can see where both people are coming at it from their own different perspectives, but from this episode, those different perspectives are going to collide at some point, and it could get very chaotic for both of them. We go to a conversation where Tristan confides in Zara, Kaz, and the audience that he is a mama's boy. Benha looks to learn the ways of the challenge. Now, Benha is at the pool with Bananas and Kiki, and Benha says in a confessional that he's always looking for masters to teach him, and who better to learn the way of the challenge than Bananas, somebody who has played the most seasons, the person that has won the most times in this game. So he's trying to get any and all advice from Bananas to become a better challenger. And Bananas does give him some advice, saying that it's not about being the smartest, it's not about being the strongest, it's about being the most adaptable. We do get a confessional from Bananas saying that he likes Benha. He just doesn't think that he has enough grit, that down the line, he won't be able to make the tough decisions. Now, something very important to this specific episode is Jonna and Kellyanne having a conversation, Jonna apologizing to Kellyanne for how she was acting to Kellyanne the previous day and kind of being like, maybe not forthright with a lot of information or thought processes, but she apologizes and says that she wants to work with Kellyanne going forward in this game. Kellyanne brings up that that's what she wanted. She wanted to know that Jonna wanted to work with her still, and that she wants this level of an alliance that they can trust each other 100%, giving off the impression that Jonna will save Kellyanne in this episode and will not be sending her into elimination. Wouldn't make any sense if you send them in now at this point after having this conversation, right? Well, it looks like when having this conversation, Sarah and Emily can overhear them talking with one another, which then Sarah takes this information and has a conversation with Danny, and Danny talks about his reservations and his nervousness about the MTV legends and the prior histories and friendships in the game that could possibly hinder the global MVP's games, more specifically the US competitors and Danny and possibly Sarah. Jody now feels that Benha and her will be nominated to go into elimination, and Benha feels like he needs to do anything and everything to help him and Jody escape going into elimination. So Benha goes and tries to use his social skills on Jonna while she is braiding his hair and giving him a new hairstyle. It's a rather difficult conversation to have because Kellyanne is sleeping in the room, or at least in the room in bed, overhearing everything that Benha and Jonna are saying to one another. So Benha really has to tiptoe, kind of have to beat around the bush, can't be as direct, can't make any deals with Jonna, and Jonna really can't say anything herself because, again, Kellyanne is in the room. You know, what can be said? What deals could be made when the person that you are campaigning against is sitting like 6 feet away from you? I do have to mention a conversation between Nelson and Jonna, where Nelson wants to come up with a system of when you're at the elimination, we get to see what the elimination is, that if I put my hair up after seeing the elimination, that I want Kellyanne and Tristan. And if I keep my hair down, then I want you to send in Jody and Benha. Jonna tells Nelson that is a good plan, but realistically she knows that's not the best of plans, or it's not really his decision at the end of the day because it is Jonna and Grant who have to send in somebody against Nelson and Huhui, and it's their games and their choice that is on the line. Now, speaking of the elimination, everybody dons their challenge gear, meets up with TJ, and then TJ, on the floor, calls out Nelson and Huhui to join him. Then he calls out both pairs of Tristan and Kellyanne, as well as Jody and Benha to join him. Then he turns the attention over to Jonna and Grant to ask them who would they like to send into the elimination. Nelson, mind you, puts up his hair, meaning he wants Tristan and Kellyanne for this elimination game. And Jonna and Grant give him what he wants. They send in Kellyanne and Tristan, which Kellyanne is upset. She feels hurt, she feels betrayed, but she wants to use that energy in the elimination against Nelson and Huhui. They're going to be playing in the elimination game called Tether Brawl. One of the partners will be laying on a board that is suspended on wires. The other partner will be on the ground trying to swing their partner to grab building blocks that are hanging in the middle of the elimination. Once a team has 8 building blocks, the partner that is on the ground will then build a tower that is 8 pieces high. The first team to do this will win themselves back into the game, and the other team will be eliminated. My goodness, this was difficult to watch at times. I mean, this was an utter blowout by Kellyanne and Tristan. Nelson and Huhui got all the help from the crowd, trying to give them any and all advice, and they were doing the exact opposite of that advice the whole time. I mean, this whole game was about momentum and keeping the momentum and keeping your partner swinging, and Nelson would grab the rope, swinging Huhui one way, and then as she was coming back, he would grab the rope. Huhui was also like shaking while being swung, which stopped all momentum as well. Nelson and Huhui were a mess. Kellyanne and Tristan got all 8 of their blocks. They were a machine. They took care of business. Tristan was able to build an 8-block tower quite easily, and they were deemed the winners. Absolutely the worst case scenario for Jonna coming back into the game, because everybody comes back to the challenge house. Kellyanne and Tristan are 1 happy, but also 2 very pissed off, especially when Grant comes in to kind of do like damage control by saying a joke at the very beginning. Like, just say congratulations, do it out in public for everybody to see. The way Tristan reacts to Grant saying, I thought you were almost going to get eliminated. And Tristan was like, oh, really? How did you think that? And then Grant was like, I'm just kidding. And then tries to say a couple of more lines, tries to give him some like, hey, you did really well. But you can just tell Kellyanne and Tristan are just not there for it. Jonna is not too thrilled about having to do damage control, and it doesn't start off well when Kellyanne is bringing her bag back to the room. They try to have a conversation. Kellyanne is trying to understand why Jonna had that conversation with her about wanting to work with her, make an alliance with her, just to throw her into elimination later on that same day. And Jonna was saying, well, you told everybody about that deal and that you were safe and that we were in alliance, so that's why I sent you in. Kellyanne says that was a lie. We did see a flashback conversation between Jonna, Casey, and Tori about Kellyanne's remarks during the voting ceremony, saying that she wanted to target the strongest teams. And who are the strongest teams? Well, it's the teams that are winning. And Grant won 2 competitions up to that point, and Jonna also won. So who's the strongest but Jonna and Grant? That seemed to really push possibly the decision to send in Kellyanne and Tristan. It feels like both women are calling each other liars, accusing the other one of misrepresentation or being a liar. And this is when Kellyanne says that she has had enough and storms out of the room, goes to find Tristan to talk about it. Tristan tries to calm Kellyanne down, but you know that Kellyanne is very angry. But just as it was getting spicy, just as we were seeing some sparks and some drama, boom, we are hit with the credits. And that is it for this episode, for this week's episode. I'll be honest, it feels like we didn't get a full episode. I feel a little unsatisfied from this episode because I just feel like we just got the back half of episode 2 in a way, and it just took a long time to get to this back half. When you have so much talking in an episode, granted this is a 45-minute episode, when you have so much talking and so much buildup for later episodes and not even this episode, and then you have an elimination at the end of this episode that was so dominant by one specific team that it doesn't feel that exciting or anything, that it kind of leaves you underwhelmed of an episode. And that's what this episode left me. It left me a little underwhelmed that we didn't get a whole bunch of anything. And honestly, not a lot of people got confessionals, so it wasn't like everybody got sufficient amount of screen time during this episode as well. Like, some people got 3 or 4 confessionals, but a lot of people got 1. Some people even still got 0 in a 45-minute episode where we only had one competition, which was a complete landslide performance by one specific team. It just felt underwhelming, especially after getting 2 episodes, 1.5 episodes almost, last week, where we got to see multiple competitions, 1 elimination, and then we get episode 3, which was a lot of talking, a lot of build-up to possible drama that I'm very much looking forward to later down the line. But when you boil down what happened in this episode for this specific week of events, it just seems like it's just very light in content. But that's my thoughts. I'll get more into my thoughts in tomorrow's Tiny Table Talk. But now I turn it over to you. What did you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about all the setup, all the build up? Did you enjoy this episode? It's okay if you did enjoy this episode, even though I didn't necessarily find this one super thrilling or exciting. But did you enjoy the foreshadowing, the setup, the build up to what's going to happen in the upcoming episodes? Or were you looking for a little bit more action this early on in the season? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about Jonna's decision on sending in Kellyanne and Tristan? Do you think that was the wrong decision? I'll also be talking about Jonna's decision in tomorrow's Tiny Table Talk as well. But that is it for this week's episode. I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/AngelCakeVids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge World Championship content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.